Hank, I want to say thank you. Thank you for, I mean, I know we were late coming over here, but, for carving out dinner time to sit down and two guys talking about teeth. Like I said, does it get much better than this? Thank you for hopping on.
You're welcome.
Okay, first, you were gracious enough to, we talked on the phone and got to know each other a little bit. You've had a unique history with your career. Let's talk about that. What did you do for the last 45 years of your life before you retired?
I retired from the Littleton Fire Department, which is a suburb of Denver, and I started off as a dispatcher when I was 20 years old, so I was the youngest person that they had hired at the time. And at the time, Denver and Littleton were the only two hiring anybody under 21. And I had applied for Denver and was in the process of trying to get on the fire department in Denver too. But I was dispatching for maybe about 6 months. And here's the hiring process. The chief walks in and goes, "Hey, Hank, would you like to take Rich Phillips' place?" I said, "Okay."
Pretty official.
In Denver, it would have been a totally different situation. But that happened about a week before I was supposed to take the last test for Denver. And I had to make that decision between Denver and Littleton. And I stuck with Littleton since I knew everybody. And my career took me from dispatch to firefighter to paramedic. I was a lieutenant on one of the rescue units, and then I broke and dislocated my left little toe in the station one night. And while I was on light duty, the chief said, "I think we need a full-time programmer," because I'd been learning how to program the city's computer for use by the fire department.
Wow.
And of course, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I only work 10 days a month. And there was no choice. You do what the chief says. So I was transferred to a staff position, and I retired as an assistant fire marshal.
Assistant fire marshal. Here, I mean, you guys have fire seasons. We don't have that as much. And I mean, Texas will have some in the summers, but talk to me about what, just help me see through the eyes of what, I haven't lived in Colorado, but I know how big, I do know in Arizona up north, we had serious fires, but what was it like through the eyes of a Littleton firefighter? What were fire seasons like?
Well, the fire season, like we've come to know it, that's a whole different world. What I was, brought up learning how to do was fight structural firefighting. So with the advent of the bigger fires out in the forests, the federal government and the state government started contracting with local fire departments, and we have guys that are trained as wildland firefighters.
Okay.
Also, where I work down in Littleton, being on the south suburb, we had a lot of interface with wildlands, grasslands, scrub oak, and so our guys, that's where they started their wildland firefighting.
Okay.
So that wildland interface is what got us started. So the state supplies extra firefighting equipment, trucks, and they will pay for our firefighters to go somewhere else and pay for the overtime for infilling.
Okay.
So, and our guys, I tell you what, it's a young man's sport. I wouldn't, I've never had to do it because I was out of the field before that started. And, my hat off to them because those guys really work hard. In all the classes that I've taken over the years, that is one dangerous type of firefighting. Yeah. Because we had some guys killed up near Glenwood Springs some years back. I forget how many there were, but it was like 9 or so, maybe even more. But the fire started coming up the hill, and it ran so fast it outran them. There was nothing they could do to get out of the way.
Oh my God.
And they have these special little pop-up tents that it can shield them from the heat, but the problem is it takes all the oxygen away. and unless they're carrying some breathing apparatus with them, they'll suffocate. And that's a lot of what happened to some of those guys. You know, they'd find the body and it'd be fine, but they suffocated.
Wow. I never thought of that. The fire takes all the oxygen.
Oh, these wildland fires, they generate their own storms. A firestorm generated by a forest fire is unbelievably dangerous. There are videos of birds being sucked into the fire because they can't outrun the wind that is being sucked towards the fire. I mean,
oh my God.
Fire needs oxygen.
Okay.
And, that's what it's doing. You know, 100 years ago or more, back in the Midwest, up around, I don't know, I think it was Wisconsin or Michigan, Minnesota, up in those areas, there were forest fires that killed hundreds and hundreds of people because once that fire started, the people living in the towns couldn't get out of there. And
oh my God.
There's been some really bad fires in the past.
Wow.
And the stuff that's going in California, that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I flew over when it just started. I saw it and I thought, and then I've been following it, and that's not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight.
In fact, we just had a friend of the family. They just lost their mountain cabin up in Grand Lake.
Yuck.
So that's the one that's burning up near Estes Park.